Well, happy Tuesday, everyone. Glad to have you on the call. This week, we're going to be going through some revenue prospecting and nurturing conversations. Please do say hi. Hello, Erica. Thanks for joining us. As we dig in, if you have any questions, feel free to post, and we'll either get back to you in the comments or we'll address it on the call itself. Now, we're going to cover a few things here, talking about how you can create some marketing pages on your website, highlighting past activities because people are not terribly creative. Seeing examples is useful both from past activities and with mockups. We're going to talk about how you can use email more effectively, not just to grow your audience, but to nurture your relationships. And then a couple of thoughts on warm leads. Some are some obvious ones, but worth repeating, and some are perhaps not as obvious. So we're going to dive right in. And Ryan's done a great job of creating some of these marketing pages. Depending on the publication, they happen either on site or on a corporate site. But the purpose here is, your advertisers or the prospects, when they come to you, they probably think, okay, if you're print, you've got a print ad, and if you have the website, which obviously you do, I can buy banner ads. And that's probably the extent of their thinking. And so if you can expand their thinking on site, it can be really fruitful. And, sometimes there's this concern that, well, if I put pricing out there, if I put my options out there, that a competitor is going to undercut me or challenge me or whatever. But while that's true, your competitor probably knows your pricing anyways. Having it be straightforward is really worth the trade-off of making it public. So it's a great chance to share your values, your approach, and of course best practices along the way. And again, people like to see examples if you can. So one of the things that this does is it allows you to really differentiate yourself. If you're not secretive, if you're giving with information and you're sharing, it allows you to set yourself apart from your competitors who are more, closed-fisted. It's obviously a chance for you to highlight your local component with both local language, but also sort of local know-how that's pretty unique. And it really will help people realize, wow, I can get everything I need with you. I thought you were just a magazine, a newspaper, a website, but you've got a portfolio of things to offer. That's pretty cool. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you haven't been on the recent calls, check out the last couple episodes that we've done, but there's a wide range of things that you can hit on.
Yeah, and just to chime in here, there's a couple different things that are really subtle on some of the pages we put together for our publishers. And one is you'll notice that I start that first big graphic are bundles. And if you look really closely and squint your eyes, you'll see that each bundle includes both print and digital. This is your way to kind of reinforce the message that it's not one or the other. These things work together. It's about multi-channel marketing, meaning that you're reaching an audience both in print, online, through email, on Facebook, even off-site in some cases with audience extension. So this is your opportunity to kind of bundle all that together and show that you can be a premium local distributor basically of your audience. The other thing that you'll notice here is that I've labeled the different packages: local starter, local momentum, and local authority. Again, lending credibility that you're different than everybody else. And the last thing I'll mention here is this: think of this as like a menu of options. If you're a business owner, you have hundreds of people a month probably coming to you trying to sell something digital. And if you already have an established relationship with someone on the print side, they're going to value that relationship even more if you can also help them on the digital side of things. So this is not only about getting your pricing and getting your packages and getting that out there. It's about starting. This is the starting point for the developing, those relationships and that value, or establishing that value in the minds of your prospective advertisers.
And it doesn't stop with just sort of the introductory either. As Ryan said, this is sort of the start of the menu, and as we highlighted before with In and Out, it's the start of the conversation. So you've got a lot of flexibility there, and you can stress that these are our most popular variations. They're not the only options, and so forth. So you can really mix and match. You can also do some interesting things to highlight individual activities, and so here's a few examples. Right, we love social promotions. So having a page on your site about social promotions is great. Businesses might stumble upon it. They might find it in a Google search. And frankly, if you're talking to somebody, you're out in a sales call, or you're at a chamber event, or just on the phone, and they say, where can I see some more info? Funny you should ask, we've got this link. on our site that explains social promotions. You don't even have to send them an email. You can just direct them to your site. Likewise, obviously having banner ads and highlighting where they appear. You should have a copy of the rate cards if you've worked with us in the past, which includes the map of where ads appear. So it's, again, a quick way to hit on, frankly, what's what. What are the ads called? What are the sizes? How do they align? Audience extension. This is a novel concept to a lot of people, and they didn't realize that, oh, I can give you money and reach locals on hundreds or thousands of websites. Yeah, that's a fantastic service, and this is a great way to quickly identify it. And then directory listings. You know, with Locable's platform, we build in the places marketing page to convert people, but you can link to your own page. You can sell your own benefits. If you're going to offer, you know, an added benefit of a premium listing, maybe what you want to do if you're a print product or even not a print product, you want to specially recognize your premium listings. Obviously, there's already things that happen in the tech that does it, but you want to show them in print. Hey, special nod to our premium listings. You can call that out here. Our conversion page doesn't have that because not every publisher does it, but you can identify this and then link from this page to the places page to convert.
Yeah, there's a really interesting thing about this directory listing page in and of itself is that, you know, someone asks, why should I upgrade? This is a great page to point them. It's like, well, here's what it looks like unclaimed. And we're referencing businesses all the time in articles. If you don't claim your listing, people are going to find this, and this is what they find. So at least claim your listing, right? And then if you upgrade it, you get all these other benefits. So this is a particularly good page to use as kind of a quick response to common questions. And you know, you'll notice here that in the last slide, we showed you kind of the top level page, right? It introduces some packages, you know, all the different things you have. All of those link out to these individual pages. And the reason we do it this way is because it's great for search engine optimization, right? Just like you would go on as a reader and maybe search for an article about gardening, your advertisers or prospective advertisers are going on and be like, how do I reach X audience? Or, you know, how do I run a social contest? Or how do I run a local contest? Having these pages on your site will help fill your sales leads, your sales funnel, and get more and more people coming to you instead of having to go the other way. So it serves dual purposes here, and that's why we recommend this strategy.
And, you know, these are 4 examples. There's others. Obviously, we love sponsored content as well in all of its varieties, and so you can continue to come up with additional pages following a similar approach. And to Ryan's point about sort of interlinking content, when you take this approach, it'll give you one other interesting insight. So we use Google Analytics, and so you can track and see what people are looking at. So once you start doing this, once you start sending people to your pages, and of course they find it on their own because they're looking to advertise, you might find that if you've got, you know, a dozen pages up for each of the various options, you might find that 1 or 2 of those pages get a whole lot more traffic than the rest. You might find that one of those pages has a higher exit rate, which means someone goes to that page and then their next action is to leave your site. That could be really useful information going, well, if audience extension gets half the views of all of the 12 pages, maybe I should push that a little bit harder. If, you know, social promotions is performing really poorly or has a massive exit rate, meaning people aren't going on to ask you for a media kit or aren't going to another page or whatever, maybe that's something you pull back on or whatever. I mean, the examples don't really matter so much as the fact that there's data. And this data can be incredibly actionable in a way that doesn't require you to have a massive Excel spreadsheet. It can be just sort of a quick look.
Yeah, and before we move on from here, I want to call out one thing that I see a lot of publishers do is they create an advertiser and about page, and then they just link out to a PDF. All right, now, clearly having the PDF there is something that people can download and print out and take with them is valuable. We're never going to tell you to not do that, but it doesn't preclude you from also doing these marketing pages for the search engine reasons that we mentioned before. So it's not an either-or proposition. You should probably have both. Some people want to just scan the website. They don't want to download the PDF. Other people are further along the process and want something to take around and carry and think about it for a little bit. So it was really subtle on the last slide, but at the very bottom, you know, of the top level marketing page, I had the bundles at the top. I had the kind of, this is the section we can customize with all the different options, and at the very bottom I had a button that says download our media kit. Right? So the design element, the reasons for or against the PDF are kind of moot here. You should have both.
Yeah, you can hit people wherever they're at, which is nice. These pages and other activities that you do on the sales front can also be bolstered by highlighting your past activities. Now, some of you are newer to embracing digital. This is obviously true of print as well, and your previous print issue is the greatest way to highlight print. But part of the benefit of joining Locable is that you get access to our network and frankly, the activities on our network. And so you should not feel bad going to talk to an advertiser, brag about this investment that you're making, and say, here's something that worked in another market, like Mansfield's Pumpkin Patch Guide, and we're going to do something similar. We're going to do a guide for Valentine's Day to-dos, or St. Patrick's Day, or best places to see spring blooms, or whatever your audience would care about. And you can reference this, and you can talk about how it worked. You say, oh, by the way, look at First Choice was a sponsor, and everybody loved it, and so forth. Obviously, for Lisa, I think you're on the call, you can use this, and it's firsthand, and sure, that's better. But if you're going to do a guide, tap into the fact that Lisa's had some success here. Likewise, Idaho Falls has had a lot of success with social promotion. Well, don't take them off your page. And I'll say this, I think one publisher in particular will have it really resonate with him. Don't delete anything ever. Don't delete anything ever. Because everything that you do, assuming you didn't post it by mistake, is a reference in the future. If Lisa goes in and deletes this post that had a lot of success, then next year when it's the pumpkin patch time, it's going to be gone, and she can't reference it. Not to mention the fact that Google gets upset and you lose traffic and all these other things. So don't delete anything ever. And what you see here, it's kind of hard to see, but these are all the things that have been attached to Idaho Falls, or at least many of them. And there's a bunch of contests. And you might think to yourself, well, why does it need to be there? It's over. It's a trophy. This is a thing you can point to, and your readers might find it and go, hey, that's cool that they did that. I hope they do something like that again. I'm going to follow this publisher. And when you go to tell an advertiser, and you go, well, let's see, you've got a dentist. What can you do for a dentist? Well, let's see, we did something for Sunnyside Dental. Maybe we could do something like that for your dental office as well. See, here's the success they had. We can just sort of hit the reset button for you. So these are great sort of almost built-in testimonials that you can reference. And so as you're going about, you can do these things. And again, internally within the network, there's some sharing that you can take as well.
Yeah, and I want to point out for those Locable affiliates on the call that there's a difference between deleting content and not having it highlighted on the homepage, right? So the way the entire system is built is to basically post an article or whatever it is and then promote it to the homepage. Now, over time, that article is going to fall off naturally. Now, if for whatever reason, maybe you're not posting content that frequently, maybe it's only once a week, and you don't want the Valentine's article that you wrote to show up on the homepage, that would be a situation where you just unpromote it. Never delete, but you still have some control over what shows on your homepage, and likewise, there's other mechanisms in place to help you control what people see. Just know that deleting is never an option, or shouldn't be an option unless it's a legit, I made a mistake, this shouldn't have been posted, or there's some other ramification that, requires us to take it down.
Yep. Good point. And, occasionally we see stuff disappearing, and then, there's links out on the internet, social shares and link backs, and they link to nothing. So we want to leave it there for a whole bunch of reasons, including the sales opportunity. So, it's nice. So we keep track of what different publishers do. We have like a little growing library that we like to reference. And you should do that for yourselves as well. Anything, could be an article, could be an event, could be whatever, but anything that you think represents options effectively, take a screenshot, save the URL, that sort of thing. And obviously this plays into things that you can show, on banner ads. Here's an example of a banner ad. And in your case, and we'll talk more about the educational piece in a minute, but advertisers, if you have more than a few, you've seen some really bad ads, and you've seen some good ads, and you shouldn't run really bad ads. In fact, you should tell them, no, it's bad, it's not going to work, and here are some changes you can make. And so you can use examples of successful ads, print, web, whatever, to help educate your audience. You can highlight why it was successful, good call to action, clean graphics, font wasn't 2-point, things of that nature. And again, feel free to tap into the Locable network of activities to share and to highlight and to educate. Now, the next thing, and this is sort of in a similar vein, is about mockups. Now, I'm going to stay on Mansfield because obviously we do a lot of work with Lisa. When we were working on the Pumpkin Patch Guide, we did mockups. And this is sort of plays into our sales approach, which is we like to create exclusivity and scarcity and urgency. You know, things that basically say, look, you can't drag your feet forever. Make a decision, yes or no. So here we did one mock-up that shows, okay, what happens if there's one sponsor? And you can see that on the left. And the price is X. And on the right, we go, okay, here's what it looks like if there's two sponsors. Sure, the price is lower, but there's two sponsors and your logo's smaller. And oh, by the way, you don't get your name in the title or whatever. And so we presented these two. Which did they go with? We made it really easy, you know. Oh, it's only an extra $200 to go from one of two to the exclusive. It's only an extra X dollars. No problem. It was a 10-second conversation. But showing the contrast first demonstrated the value and second demonstrated the difference between the options. If they would have went with the one on the right, that's fine. We would have then gone out and said, okay, who wants to fill this other spot, which you can barely read that says another sponsor. The point is these quick mock-ups that you can do can be really valuable. And those of you who aren't, you know, designers, I don't want you to get hung up on the fact that mock-ups take a lot of work. I mean, they take some effort. But in this case, we were going to do the Pumpkin Patch Guide anyway, so we actually wrote the piece and prepped it. And then we sort of did some screenshots. But we also use this really cool service called Canva. Write this down, Canva, Canva.com. Now, this is kind of like a Photoshop meets stock photography platform. It's this really interesting web-based service. There's a couple of things I'll say about it. We're not getting endorsed to do it, but I highly recommend this. The first is it's easy to use. So you don't have to be very technical, although there's a little nuance. They do a lot of really good educational and onboarding of you. So they'll teach you how to use a system pretty easily in a basic way. You can use your own photos and your own graphics, but they also come with a ton of templates and variations, both the things you see on the left, that's sort of their library, but they also have stock photography. Now, the way they make money is they give you some free options, many are very good, and they have some paid options. So it's like $1. I think we spent $1 for each of the two pictures that you see here. So this mock-up cost $2 and about 15 minutes of time. We paid for the one on the left. We paid for the one on the right. That was it. So it can be a really great way for you to quickly proof some things out. Is this print worthy? Is it going to win any awards? No. Well, it did win an award. It won a sponsorship award, so that was pretty good. So use a tool like this, quickly mock up, and I don't care what you're doing. You know, this can be useful for print ads. It can be useful for whatever. And it's a lot easier for people to say yes when all they have to do is sign and give you money versus get creative and spend time to think about it and whatever. So give them something they can sign off on, and it'll make it a lot more simple for them to say yes. Check out Canva. It's very, very cool. We're big fans. All right, so transitioning, talking about email. It's really a useful thing to use email. For newsletters, it's powerful. Getting readership, it's at least as powerful as social media, even when you're doing social media right, but it's powerful for advertisers. Your advertisers should be in a list on a mail client like MailChimp. If you're a publisher, this is sort of public service announcement. If you're a publisher that likes to send an email to all of your advertisers and you do it by sending it to yourself and BCCing everyone, please don't ever do that again. It's a horrible experience and probably against the CAN spam law. So use a mail client like MailChimp and then send them periodic messages. Now, in the case on the left here, Chester County did a nice job of mocking up what a sponsorship includes. And this is really great because it highlights all the different channels. It's got email, website, social, print. That's the, I don't know what the word trifecta, how you expand it to a fourth, but it's the quadfecta of distribution. And you can see that the various things, there's a call to action, there's some exclusivity, it hits everything important, and of course it plays on the Valentine's theme. So you can send this. You can send it personally to people, but you can send it in bulk. And so, you know, use it, add it to a marketing page. Those pages are there. It's really easy to be like, hey, here's an upcoming social promotion. Maybe even create a separate page. And then next year, guess what? you just hide it, and next year you turn it back on when Valentine's Day is coming. Obviously, as you're sending it in MailChimp, it's really useful. And if you happen to have a conversation with people, you can send it as a PDF so that they can respond. Feel free to promote some of the stuff on Facebook. You know, when you give local businesses a chance to sponsor something, that, if you sort of phrase it right, and it's not just you coming with your hand out, that's a pretty cool thing. So, you know, hey, business owners out there, if you want to be a part of something special, contact us, check out this flyer. Sure, your consumers will see it too, but so what? Then you're also letting them know there's going to be some really cool stuff coming that they can be participating in. And then your email signature, whether it's this full graphic or a scaled down version, don't miss the opportunity. If you send emails, have a marketing message. Have something there with a call to action.
I'll just add to the email signature, just link to the marketing page on your site. So you can say, for more info, you know, want to sponsor this contest, ? Find out more, and then link to the site. So you don't need to put the image. In fact, I wouldn't recommend putting the image in your email signature. But same thing with Facebook. You link back to the marketing page. All right, and if you're going to do a PDF, you can link back to the marketing page. The marketing page should be the foundational element, and on that page, you know, it shouldn't be just a graphic. You know, make sure there's some text on there so Google can recognize it and it can get optimized for search, just like we were talking about before as well.
Yeah, feel free to be a little redundant, right? The value of sponsoring this is the value of any social promotion plus some, so you can reuse some of that copy. Now, as a quick related aside, you know, I think too often publishers and their teams forget the amount of expertise that they bring to the table with any advertiser, even the sophisticated ones. And so you have a great opportunity to educate them. In fact, many of them ask you, what should I do about this? How should I use Facebook? Do you have a suggestion for a web builder? Whatever. So codify this a little bit. You know, I would love to see our publishers do a monthly article on their own website that's for advertisers. You know, observations, lessons learned. How often do you talk to somebody and you hear a success story? They did something really interesting. And I'm not necessarily talking about success just with you, but, you know, they remodeled their storefront. They changed their logo. They painted their car. They whatever. Share that. I'm sure they'd be glad to let you highlight them. How often do you have situations where people come and they make statements that are just really wrong? I mean, they are wrong. I'm not going to do advertising anymore because I'm going to do social media. What? You clearly don't understand the role of social media or advertising. So while you may not call them out and throw them under the bus, it's a chance for you to talk about, here's what happens. We had some conversations with people in the community and there's this misconception, so we wanted to address that. Here are some things that you can do. Now, obviously bring your own voice, your own tone, your own style, but you can do a lot to educate people. And then you can send emails on this. And this can be just like a newsletter, but for businesses. You know, local happenings relevant to businesses. And if there's news that's relevant to, you know, new zoning laws or new whatever, sure, include that. But this is a great way to educate. And along the way, just like you have ads in your newsletter for consumers that advertise businesses, you can have sort of, I'll call them ads, although they may or may not be a banner. You can have ads in these newsletters. They go out to business owners about things they can do to get involved, whether it's specific things like Valentine's Day or generally, you know, contact us more about improving your marketing or whatever. So it's really a great way to nurture relationships and frankly to nurture prospects who aren't clients without expending too much amount of your time. So identifying warm leads. Obviously, warm is better than cold, and last week we talked about how you could effectively do away with ever having to cold call anyone ever again, even while going after brand new people who don't know that you exist. So if that sounds intriguing, I'll leave it at that. Check out last week's video. But the start is, obviously, as you send these messages and as people come to you, that's fantastic. But if you're using something like MailChimp and you send this out and you notice that somebody opened a bunch of things or clicked on a bunch of things, but maybe they didn't call you, maybe give them a jingle. Be like, hey, you might have seen this email that went out, thought you'd be interested in chatting a bit, and you can sort of guide the conversation. And you can figure out, why didn't they call you? Did they not call you because they didn't care about what they saw after they looked at it? Did they not call you because they got busy? Did they get called out on their own sales or service call and they just forgot? These are warm leads. And even if you get a no, you're going to get information that's useful. And the odds are you'll probably get a yes. So look to these reports. Look beyond the people who just contact you directly. Obviously, we talk a lot about listings to leads. Definitely look at how people are engaging your calendar and your directory, and do things like we've talked about in the past to elevate those. If the calendar and directory are just on your site, they're not going to be highly engaged in and of themselves. But if you incorporate them in your content and in your distribution strategy, if you run contests, you'll get people interacting, and then the people that interact have self-selected to say, I'm interested in reaching your audience, and you can follow up as such. Obviously, existing advertisers, upselling digital is one piece, and ask for referrals. Maybe there's an advertiser that you have that is a florist, and Valentine's Day is coming up, and you go to them and be like, hey, I'd really love to do something that can help you with your business and combine you with some other businesses to do it. Do you have any favorite, restaurant business owners or day spas or chocolatiers or whatever? Let them think about who they know, who they like, and make the introduction. I mean, if a call comes from a florist and says, hey, we're going to do this Valentine's Day thing with Chester County, and we want you to join us as the boutique in the giveaway, they're doing the cold calls for you. That's a pretty cool deal, and they're obviously incentivized to do it if you can get them pumped up about it. Facebook's a fantastic way. You can do a couple things here. People who post to your page are obviously self-selecting, like your directory and your events, but you can, and we talked about this before, I think at the end of last year, that you can like pages as your page. So Chester County's Facebook page, Randy, hope you don't mind, keep using you, you can like a bunch of businesses. And then your page has a news feed. That's a little buried, but you can find it, and you can see what other people are posting about. And if you see people are posting things that are starting to lead towards a given interest, Facebook, Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day or whatever, you might want to approach them. Or maybe they're doing a lot of just promotional activities. You know that they're starting to push on marketing themselves. It's worth approaching. How's that going on Facebook? You're looking for ways to expand that reach. We can highlight that in some pretty interesting ways. So you can let people, again, self-select and stand out from the crowd. So definitely look at those. And for those of you who are on the call that are not members of the network, or those of you who are members of the network that are looking for a hand, let us know. We're happy to talk about how we can sort of fill the gaps that you have. But hopefully this has been a useful time for you to see some quick, actionable options. Pick the things that resonate most with you. What are the things that you can execute the fastest, and get them in place. The great things about like the landing pages that Ryan put together, once they're there, they're there. You don't have to touch them again. You may update them from time to time, but it's a set it and forget it sort of thing that works for you. So pick the things you like most, and if you have any specific questions, feel free to contact us. With that, we're going to stop the recording.